Welcome back to Mr. Wicklam's virtual classroom, where today what we are going to be learning about is number pyramids. Now, number pyramids are just simple things, and what we're going to be looking at is we're just going to be looking at some number pyramids, and all we're going to be doing is we are going to be doing number pyramids with addition or subtraction. Now, what I would like you to do is I'd like you to take a look at the first three number pyramids, and you should easily be able to figure out what the rule is and what is happening there. So what we want to do is we want to look at the bottom row. And what we do is we look at the two numbers on the bottom row, and then we look at the number on the top row. So what are the two bottom rows doing? What are we doing with these two numbers to get this number? If you came up with the fact that we are adding these two numbers together, then you are correct. And so what we're doing is the rule would be that we take the sum of the bottom row to make the top number. So if we are doing that, then when we look at 2 and 3, 2 plus 3 is 5, 4 plus 2 is 6. Okay, so basically with number pyramids, what we are going to be doing is we are going to be doing addition and subtraction. If we move on down to the next example, so what we have is we have a blank here at the top, and we have 2 and 3. So if you looked at the examples from above, which are right here, when we had two numbers on the bottom, how did we figure out the top? What did we do? Well, what we did is we added. So 2 plus 3 would give us 5. Now, here's the kicker. This is the thing. What if we have the top number, but we only have one number in the bottom? Okay, well that's not a problem. So when we had both numbers in the bottom, what we did is we added. Now what's happening is that we have the top number. Basically, what we have is the answer, because if you do 2 plus 3, it equals 5. So what we technically have is we have the answer. So we have something plus 3 equals 7, but we don't know what that something is. So what we need to do is we need to figure out what the question mark is. Now, there's two ways that we could go about this. What we need to do is we need to subtract, is basically what we need to do. So we turn it into a subtraction question. Now, we can just do 7 minus 3 gives us 4. But what I would like you to do is, because you're going to have to explore this in algebra, and we are going to be exploring this later on in the year, what we need to do is we have an equation. And an equation is, this is unknown, plus 3 equals 7. Well, how do we figure out for this unknown? Well, what we need to do is we actually need to make this equation. How do we make this equation? What we do is we keep the unknown where it is. So the unknown equals, and what we're going to do is we're going to take this over to the other side. So what we're going to do is we're taking it across the equal sign. When we take something across the equal sign, we have to change the sign that is in front of it. So if it is a plus, it becomes a minus. If it is a minus, it becomes a plus. So what we need to do is it's plus 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to go 7. We change that sign from a plus to a minus 3. And basically what we end up with is we end up with this equation right here. So we end up with 7 minus 3 equals 4. So you can see all we did is we took this across the equal sign. When we take it across the equal sign, we change it from a plus to a minus, and we get our answer 4. Now, if we look at this and we add 3 plus 4, gives us 7. So we are correct. Now, you are going to need to use this for the next question. So we're going to look at the next example. Now, there's two ways of solving this next example. So first of all, take a look at what we have. We have actually, instead of two numbers being on the bottom, we actually have three numbers on the bottom. We don't know what one is, question mark. We don't know what these two are because we don't know what the numbers are on the bottom. And so what we need to do is we actually need to figure out, so this plus 5 is going to give us this answer right here. 4 plus this is going to give us this answer. So what we need to do is we have basically 4 plus question mark equals a question mark. So you're thinking to yourself, Mr. Wicklam, how am I possibly going to figure this out? How can I even possibly figure this out? And what we have here is we have 5 plus question mark equals a question mark. Well, what we need to do is we need to figure out, okay, our final answer is going to be 15. Okay, that's going to be our final answer. And so what we need to do is let's just start filling in some numbers. So you look at this, I have a t-table made up, right? Great way to organize information is using t-tables. So it says number in the middle of the bottom row, right here. Okay, let's put 1. So we input 1 in there. So numbers in the middle. So what could the numbers in the middle row possibly be? So if we put a 1 in here, the numbers in the middle would be, so 4 plus 1, which would give us 5, okay, and 5 plus 1, which would give us 6. So what we're looking at is we're looking at 5 and 6. So if we add 5 plus 6 together, what's our final answer? So if we add 5 plus 6, what's the number going to be on the top? Well, 5 plus 6 equals 11. Because remember, what you want to do is you want to take two numbers to make one number, two numbers to make one number, then you need to add these two together to make the final answer. It's just like we did up here, except we just had the two numbers. Now we're going even further on the pyramid. So what if we put 2 in here? We're going to put 2 in the middle. Okay, so when we put 2, so we have 4 plus 2, which equals 6, and we have 5 plus 2, which equals 7. Okay, so now in the numbers in our middle row are going to be 6 and 7. So when we add 6 plus 7, we get 13. Now, let me ask you something. As we add one more here, what happens to the final number? Well, let's take a look at our gap. What's our gap between these two? What is our gap? 11 to 13. 12, 13. So 12, 13. Our gap is plus 2. So we're not quite at 15 yet, are we? But what do we know from this? If we make this 3, excuse me for putting the or in there. So if we do 4 plus 3, we will get 7. If we do 5 plus 3, we will get 8. So the numbers now in our middle row are 8 and 7. I'm going to circle them just so you can see that those are the numbers. So what's 8 plus 7? 15. Okay, 8 plus 7 is 15. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you another way that we can possibly solve this. Now, the numbers that we know are, we know that 15, which is our final answer, 15 equals. Okay, 15 equals, and what we're going to do is we're going to use all of these terms right here. All of these 5 terms in the pyramid. So 15 equals 4 plus, and we're going to call the question marks, we're going to make these A. A plus 5, so So if when you look at this, this is our bottom row. Plus, well, what do we have? When we do this and we add all of this up, what we're eventually going to get is we're going to get the middle row. And so the middle row is basically just going to be A. Okay, because when we add this up, we're going to get the middle row. Alright? So, what this looks like then on our pyramid, it looks like 4A, 5, and then we know that when we add these two together, we'll get the answer here. So this is 4 plus A, and we add these two numbers, we get this answer, so this is going to be 5 plus A. And then when we know what these two numbers are, we will get our number 15. Now, back to our equation. Okay, so what we have is we have this, or we can write this as 15 equals, if we group like terms together, so when I say like terms, numbers with numbers, letters with letters. Okay, so when we group our numbers together, 4 plus 5 equals what? It equals 9. Plus, we group our A's together. How many A's do we have? We have 2. 2A. Okay? So we have 2 A's, and we have 4 plus 5, which is 9. And so what we need to do is we are going to do exactly what we did with the question up above. Now, how do I get just the numbers together? I only want the numbers. So what I'm going to do is, because this is 9, or I could have wrote it out, you could also write it out this way. You could go 15 equals 2A plus 9. So if you recall from the last question, when I wanted to get the numbers together, what I did is I had to, and if you need to, you can always draw this arrow. I had to move the number over. I had to move the number over. And remember what happens when I said when you move the number over, you take this sign that's in front of it and you make it an opposite. So if it's a plus, it becomes a minus. So now we have 15 minus 9 equals 2A. Okay, we took it across, we switched the sign, now we have 15 minus 9 equals 2A. Well, what's 15 minus 9? So 15 minus 9 equals 6, right? Which still equals 2A. Now, here's the issue. We want to get A so that it's just by itself, so that it's just 1A. Well, if we know anything about division, if we divide a number by itself, so for instance, we're going to divide 2A divided by 2. So we have to do the same to both sides, okay? And so what we end up getting is that 2 divided by 2 equals what? 1. So we end up with A. It's assumed that there is a 1 in front of it, and we end up with 3. So 3 equals A. So when you're looking at this statement right here, 4 plus, so what is A? A is 3. Okay, so what we can do is we can plug that in. Put the 3 in where the A is. 4 plus 3 is now 7. 5 plus 3 is 8. And then we get our final answer of 15. Now, for today's lesson, we can just use the double number line, or the double T chart. I'm sorry, my mistake, the double T chart. But as we move further on into algebra, this is what we're going to be looking at. Okay, so if this looks very complicated right now, that's okay. What you can do is you can always go back and you can always watch this again, and if you really want to learn this, watch it a couple more times. But for today's lesson, we can use the double T tables. Okay, so that is number periods and pyramids, I am sorry, and this is Mr. Wicklam signing off.